Here we are. Hi, Carrie. Like your haircut. Welcome. Right, so here we are. This week is going to be our first week exploring the soul trait of gratitude. And first, we will get started the way that we always do, with a short meditation to kind of become present. So please relax and close your eyes and take in a deep breath through the nose and hold. And exhale through the mouth and hold. And inhale through the nose and hold. And exhale through the mouth and hold. As you go at your own pace of inhaling through the nose and holding, exhaling through the mouth and holding. If thoughts should come into your head, just observe them and let them go. Like watching a car move past on the road. Now is not the time for solving problems. Right now, all you need to do is inhale through the nose and hold, and exhale through the mouth and hold. And on your next inhale, say to yourself, Shema, and on the exhale, listen. Shema, listen. In Shema, we're listening deeply, without judgment, without offering advice. In Shema, we are listening with an open heart. Shema, listen. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Hey, Ron. Hey, Nancy. Welcome. Nice to see you. Okay, so for today, let's see. We're going to get started talking about what is enough in your life. As I said before our call began, I spent last weekend and actually up until yesterday in Los Angeles for the ordination weekend at my school. It was really exciting and fun on a lot of levels. On the way back, I decided to listen to the audiobook by Brene Brown, Daring Greatly. It's about vulnerability, it's about shame, and it's about, and some of one of her research has shown that shame is often caused by a feeling of scarcity, like, or feelings of low self-esteem, like not feeling like you're enough, or maybe there's, whatever it is, there's not enough in your life. So to start our discussion, let's just take a couple moments and think about what is enough in your life. Instead of like, oh, my car is too old, it's like, oh, you know what, my car is really reliable, or it's got a nice radio, or I have some nice friends, but something that is enough, something that we can be satisfied with. Welcome. Yes, Joanne.
Well, this is sort of silly. Well, it's not silly because a lot of people don't have enough. I definitely have enough food in my life. And I think I have enough friends and people who love me. But I want more of that. The last thing.
Yes. always nice to have more, and it's also good to say, you know what, but this is enough. This is enough. Yeah, Paul.
I think that this is part of the ongoing conversation that Carrie and I have about retirement when it happens, because it's really thinking about, well, what really is enough and what do we really value? So really putting our values in sharp relief, because that's what we're going to be spending our money on.
Mhm.
What do we really value? And if we have a fixed income, well, then that really helps. In some ways, it helps to understand, what our values are. But it's really interesting. I think when I first started thinking about it 5 or 6 years ago, I was not at all happy about it, because I hate making choices like that. Now, I've been practicing a lot of making choices, and it's something that I like. It really helps me understand more about myself. So I'm not thinking that there's scarcity everywhere. It's just that I need to make choices. I'm in a position, very, very fortunate, and so is Carrie, I think, we don't have to think about housing and food and things that other people do. So I just want to make sure that's part of the context. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. I see a couple people who look like they're thinking about saying something. Is it only Paul and Joanne that have enough in their life? Everyone else is just in a scarcity. We'll have Christo and then Carrie.
So I recently had my oil changed in my car. The filters were fine. I just realized that my car is now 10 years old, and the mechanic says you're at this rate, your car will run for at least another 25 years. So I could be halfway through my 60s before I need to get rid of the car. My mom wants me to get rid of it because it's so old, it's so out of date. I was like, Mom, everything I've got out of date. My MacBook's out of date, my iPhone, my watch, my car, I don't care. My hairstyle's out of date. I don't have a car payment that's $500 a month. And my car will outlast yours, and you just bought, and she just got a brand new one again. I'm like, Mom, what was wrong with the old car? Nothing. I just wanted a new one. I'm staying out of her bank. I'm staying out of her bank statements. I don't want to look. Don't want to know.
But for you, your car is enough.
It's more than enough, actually. I can't update the GPS, but since I've got my iPhone with me all the time, what's the point in GPS in the car? So,
Awesome. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Carrie, how about you? What is enough for you?
I love the outdoors, and I love living around trees and having space to garden. And I'm very fortunate that the house we have now has an acre of land that I can garden and do stuff with. And I have more than enough of the tree. I have enough trees. I have enough places to plant things. I have enough to do everything I love to do outside. And I know that that's a big criteria for me wherever I have lived, because it's for my mental health as well. I'm really lucky that way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thank you.
Karen.
To see what good friends my young adult children have become is enough. It's almost more than enough. And I've said that to others, that I am aware of other families where childhoods were easier and kids were friends and they grew up and they moved apart, or they became involved with people or other situations where that accidentally or somewhat on purpose caused a divide.
Mm,
And for us, whatever our challenges, our kids seem to be good friends with each other, to have each other's back, and they have a great relationship with us. I'm thrilled.
that's wonderful.
That's good enough. That's more than I expected, and it's everything I hoped for.
Mm. Thank you, Karen. I would like to encourage everyone to share what's enough for them. We have Harry and then Stephanie.
Yeah, when I think about enough, we have different aspects of our life. We have our emotional life, our financial life, our relationship life, our career life. And so it's sort of uneven about what is enough. But as a financial advisor, I've retired too, we're very cognizant of the importance of what is enough for our clients. Because in order to help them, we had to be very clear on that.
Mhm.
Because our premise is that we are in the enough business, not the more business.
Right.
Because the more business is insatiable.
Yes.
We can never satisfy that. But financial needs are really important. So
Mhm.
one of the exercises we did was for the husband and the wife is we broke down in their mind, what are their needs, what are their wants, and what are their wishes? And being very clear on that
Mhm.
and plan for what their needs are and of course their future wants. So we were, so that's the financial end of enough. And we spent a lot of time in that area, but it's an important question. But we have to realize there's different aspects of people's lives and in the enough area.
Thank you. I love that. I love hearing that analysis. I think that's really important. And would you like to share something from your own life where you feel like you have enough?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm very much into gratitude because I know that's the start of a happy life.
Mhm.
If you're unhappy, then you'll never, it's a problem, especially when I'm my age. So having my health is enough. Being healthy, having good relationships with my children is enough. I do have a sick daughter that we help out, which is a need that I hope can help her out. But for the most part, I'm very fortunate, and I think financially, I'm definitely enough.
Yeah.
So I feel very good, and hopefully, I guess being happy is helping other people wherever I can. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for asking.
Sure. Thank you, Harry. Okay, Stephanie.
Hi, I spent a lot of younger years feeling that I didn't have enough, and I was very unhappy. I felt like, when am I going to get the things that will make me happy? And I realized through the years and just some shifts in thinking that it wasn't about having all new stuff like Christo's mom, as he was describing. I do have things that are broken down. I have an iPad that was given to me by friends, and I dropped it and the screen is cracked and I still use it. I don't feel like I need to go out and buy a new one. And it's kind of like, sometimes I like the way things are without having to get the newest, the best, the most expensive. And I've kind of lived this way for a while, but I think out of everything that that I'm grateful for. It's not so much having things or material things, but friendships. And it's really important to me to cultivate friends because I live alone. And so that's been like probably the most important thing and means everything to me. This morning, things didn't go as planned this morning, and I was kind of upset about it, but out of the blue, I got a phone call from a friend who I hadn't talked to in a long time. She and her husband were close to where I live, getting their car fixed, and they wanted to have lunch with me. And it was a good thing that none of the other things actually happened this morning, because I really was so grateful to see them that I don't know, I really thought about it so much. Like, that really meant so much to me. And I guess that's where I just want to cultivate more friendships and people who care about me. And so anyway, I just want to share that.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Stephanie. I think for me, and I know some of you haven't gone yet, but I've just been thinking, in our house it always feels small to me, and especially when the kids are home, like there's not necessarily a lot of space. And now with a kitten running around, it definitely feels a little bit small because there's nowhere that she can't get into. But it's also enough. It really is. It's a nice house, and it's just good to be reminded it's really enough. I mean, and, it's a nice house, and it's enough. Anyone else care to share something that's enough in their life? Yeah, Sarah.
Well, I kind of agree with what everybody's been sharing, and Harry mentioned gratitude, and that was what I wrote down right away, because I know for me, I have so much to be grateful for. And when I focus on what I have instead of what I don't have, I'm happy. And and even if I focused on what I don't have, so I mean, I really have everything that I need, you know. But it's really, for me, it's actually about doing less and having more space. That's what enough is for me. And, you know, so now I'm going in the opposite direction, because I've got too many clothes, too many plants, too much, you know, crap in my house. And I mean, I've got a lot of belongings. But now, you know, the spiritual aspects are what I'm longing for. You know, that's more, you know, the social relationships, the intimate relationships. Those are the things that, you know, I'm interested in. I've lived a life where I've always had more than enough. And now my circumstances have shifted. And all of a sudden now I'm divorced at my age. And I have to remind myself that I don't have as much as I used to have, because sometimes I live like, you know, I go to the nursery and I buy $100 worth of stuff, and it's like, oh, Sarah, you know, I mean, sometimes I, you know, overspend because I forget that I really do need to budget, because I've got a humongous tax bill to pay soon, you know, later. But, you know, so things shift, and I feel like I've had a very blessed life, and it's shifted now, and I still have financial security, and I live in a beautiful house. It sometimes feels small, but I think that if I get rid of all the stuff I have that I don't need or use, then it will be better, because I really do like space. And I also, you know, Carrie, really love the outdoors. That's like my happy place. And I think that's why I love living here so much, because there's a lot of trails and nature. And I actually live on a lake, and there's ducks and fish and lots of different birds. And so that's what, you know, so when I focus on what I have, and it's good. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. And that's an interesting connection when, we're saying, oh, maybe I have too much stuff, and thinking about enoughness and what would be enough is sort of an interesting connection. Joanne, I see your hand. I want to see if anyone who hasn't spoken yet would like to share first. Okay, so yes, Joanne.
Okay, I just can't, what just came to mind, popped into my mind. There was a saying, and I think this is from one of my yoga gurus, getting rid of what you haven't got, which means, like, I guess letting go of wanting something you don't have, that, like also have a very old car, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but as long as it lasts, it's actually my son's now anyway. But, that's it. And I live in a small apartment.
Mhm.
It's a 1-bedroom apartment. And on some levels, I wish I had more space, but then I know I just had a cleaning lady for maybe the first time in like a decade,
Mm.
because the last time I had someone was when I had breast cancer, I guess. And it's like, wow, was so happy, because she really got the place sparkling and neat and all the things that I don't do. And I'm trying to keep it up, but I'll have her again come in again, in a month. But I'm not going to have a house. I had a house once out in Seattle just before, I guess, it got super popular. We had moved to Seattle in 1990 or 91. And we could afford a house then. Because we had sold our apartment in Rigo Park and whatever. And
So I'm hearing your apartment is enough, and it's really especially enough when someone comes in and cleans it.
right. And it's enough. And I also have trees and all kinds of birds outside that I just got an app so I can find out which birds I'm listening to.
Oh,
And I found out that it was the robins that were making the most noise.
Yeah.
And I enjoy those things, and I will rejoin the botanical garden because I love that. And I'm in the community organic garden. And actually, because I was sick, one of the guys who's like a super farmer, has a greenhouse at home and a garden. He planted all kinds of things in my little plot, so that I would not have known where to start. I had a few things last year, but this is like amazing. I have organic kale and
Thank you,
lettuce and
Joanne. That
beets.
sounds really nice.
All right, I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I have to get rid of, sometimes I feel jealous of people who have big houses and backyards, and they can barbecue outside and all kinds of things. Whereas some people I know have a swimming pool, and I've never been invited to come. Not that kind of, more of an acquaintance than I don't socialize with them exactly. And then other friends I do. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, so this is kind of our lead into gratitude. And so let's take a moment to look at a definition of gratitude. And this is kind of what I shared in the book. And so Mussar teaches that the gratitude soul trait governs our ability to recognize the good in any situation. In fact, the Hebrew word for this soul trait literally translates as recognizing the good. And so I'm going to skip the second paragraph, but a lot of what I've been hearing reminded me of this teaching from Ben Zoma, just who is rich, one who is happy with their lot. So how is kind of this recognizing the good sort of related to what we've been talking about? Gary, are you trying to unmute? No, okay. Sarah.
So I remembered, a saying Joanne reminded me. I think it's a recovery thing or a women who don't do too much thing. Just one of the many things that I've studied over the years, but it's it's a kind of a mantra that I am enough, I have enough, and I do enough. And because I I guess it has to do with addiction. And I tend to overdo. And so now I'm at a point in my life that I want balance. And just a little bit more about what I was talking about before. I really do want to simplify and downsize because I've had a big house, and I have so much to be grateful for. And like somebody mentioned, your health, good relationships with your family and friends, and my kids are doing well. That's what's important to me now. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And so many of us, in our working years, whether we're still working or, family relatives who are working, there's just so many demands, kind of do more and more and do more with less, and always be doing something. And it's very hard sometimes not to internalize those feelings like I'm not doing enough, or haven't done enough, or I'm not being productive in this 5 minutes, and it is one of the people who was one of my clients in grief counseling. It was like, oh, I'm just not being productive. It's like, well, your spouse died 3 months ago, and you're raising 3 kids, and you're getting to work every day, and you're getting food on the table every day. That sure sounds like enough. But this sort of this kind of so anyway, I think you get the point. Paul.
Yeah, that line of thinking got me thinking about a practice that I put into place with my current job that I've gotten through the first 6 months, and I've survived, and I understand things. Previously to this, I would have been leaning way into it, trying to really excel and be like the best of something.
Annoying.
Carrie says I'd be very annoying at the same time, which is true. And part of like being enough, doing enough, it's for me, it's really finding a balance in my life, which I've not tried to do for such a long time. And that again, back to the way I was talking about with retirement, it means, what do I really value? And I really value my work. I really like it. It's very intellectually challenging and it's fun. But if my grandkids are over, I really value my time with them. And I think it used to be that I would not really make time for things that were not work oriented. And it's a bit of I'm not at a loss, because I always feel like, but there are times when I'm thinking, all right, so what am I supposed to do now? Because I could do this. I could go back to and do some things for a couple hours tonight, but for work.
I have a list.
But and then Carrie's got stuff for me to do, so I mean, but it's really, what is it? How do I make sure that it is a balanced life? And I think that's, if I'm not looking at that, then it's easy for me to start looking at scarcity. I feel like it's not enough and I need to do more. But as you say, I mean, there's a sense of I'm doing fine. I'm doing a lot. And nobody's asking me to work 70-hour weeks. So
Right.
Right.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, Paul. And it is, what I'm hearing is there's a sort of a freedom to say, okay, well, if this is enough, then I don't need to effort in that area. I can maybe enjoy that area, or maybe I don't need to put more in, and then that lets me go over here and, do something else. I want to keep this moving because last week we didn't get to the breakout groups, and I definitely want to make sure we get there this week. As I said, I was really enjoyed this Brene Brown book. And I would love for someone to unmute, please, and to read this first bullet.
Gratitude emerged from the data as the antidote to foreboding joy, waiting for something terrible to happen as soon as feeling of joy arise. Every participant who spoke of staying open to joy also talked about the importance of practicing gratitude.
Thank you, Joanne. So let me give a little bit of context, and sorry, my grammar was not very good. So she was talking about vulnerability, and it turns out one of the things that makes people feel vulnerable is having something really good happen. Oh, something really good happened. I'm feeling great. And then all of a sudden, all these thoughts come in, she gives an example in the book where she was in the minivan with her husband and kids, and they were on a road trip, and they're all singing and having a great time. And then she started like, oh my God, what if we get in a car accident? It brings this sort of distrust, something, oh, the other shoe's going to drop. Or the Jewish concept of the evil eye. If you talk about how good things are, you're going to bring the attention of the evil eye. And so this sort of vulnerability, we cut off like this feeling of joy. And so she, in the research, and that leads to, more depression and basically becoming cut off from other people because you're sort of nervous about sort of feeling joy in the moment. And so the people who didn't have this issue, they talked about practicing gratitude. So Joanne, please continue, read the second one.
Research participants consistently described both joyfulness and gratitude as spiritual practices that were bound to a belief in human connectedness and a power greater than us.
Great. Thank you. And Brene Brown, for those of you who don't know, she was actually started as a social worker, and she has a PhD in social work, and she is just a world-leading researcher on shame and vulnerability. And she actually wrote in the book, I didn't copy this, but she said that the connection between joy and gratitude was so strong from the data that she says she'll never talk about joy without also talking about gratitude. So I'm going to stop the share, and I will copy these quotes into the chat. So I'm wondering sort of what is your take on this? Do you sort of see examples from your own life, or maybe you would kind of have this joy foreboding, or using gratitude as a way to connect with others? So Carrie, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, matter of fact, it's amazing that this afternoon I was reading something about Myers-Briggs, which is a personality test. And then it talked about how poor it is. And then it talked about another test. It's more practical. And it talks about the 5 aspects of a personality.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the aspects of someone's personality is called neuroticism, being neurotic. And I think that is a personality, I don't know, call it a flaw, but that's part of someone's personality. And we've seen these people that tend to be just like you just mentioned that scene. That something good happens and they automatically go to the negative, which is a neurotic response. And I think what we have to realize that that's sort of built in to people's personality, unless they realize that's who they are, or they're being too neurotic. They have to work toward the other side and catching themselves in those thoughts, because they're just thoughts, and trying to reverse it. There's a famous book called Learned Optimism by Dr. Seligman, who started the positive psychology movement. And he's trying, there's something called learned helplessness, that people learn to be helpless. And he realized that they can also learn to be optimistic. And there's a whole study of that. So I think it's something that we all have to realize, that if we go that way, if we're being neurotic and worrying, those are thoughts, that's part of your personality, and you have to work toward improving it. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think I would, I certainly gravitate towards the looking for these sort of tendencies in ourselves. And I think I would maybe not try to label myself as neurotic, to just notice it and say, okay, well, there's
Well, we all have levels of
opportunity, because that kind of self-talk can bring self-judgments and
well, we all have levels of it. We're all neurotic to a certain extent for certain things, but some people are extremely have that built in. So it's just part of your personality. It's one of the measurement tools that they look at. That's why I brought it up.
Gotcha. Thanks, Harry. Okay. And next we have Paul or Carrie. I think it was Carrie.
I discovered, well, I figured out recently in the last two or 3 years that why I was doing this. Every time I had a success, a show, every time somebody bought some work, I just freaked out afterwards. I got depressed. I thought I wasn't worth it, or I don't know what was going on. There was all kinds of negative stuff happening instead of rejoicing in having the show and the sale and so forth. I went down a rabbit hole. And I finally realized that I was doing that. So the last couple shows, I haven't had that negativity after about being able to do this again, that I can still succeed and still do shows, that I'm capable of it. I still don't like putting on shows. It's a real hassle, but I don't have the self-doubt afterwards, the going down to the negative. That was really crippling. It just took a long time to figure it out. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'm glad that's quieted, and these, we have the ability to kind of grow and overcome these things. And having awareness is a big piece. And also, I think sort of part of the implication is also gratitude. If we are like, wow, I sold, and I would recommend this book to everyone. I mean, it's really amazing. Kind of the things that she's a great writer. She does a lot of TED Talks and other things. So this is our lead into our breakout groups. Oops, that is not where we're going. Okay, so Dr. Brown wrote that if the opposite of scarcity is enoughness, then practicing gratitude is how we acknowledge that there is enough and we are enough. So we open today discussing where you feel like you are enough. And with your partner, where it is confidential and we're listening and not advising, we're not fixing, we're not judging. Do you ever feel like you're not enough or you don't have enough? And how might gratitude help you maybe overcome those feelings or help sort of redirect some of those impulses. So I am going to once again, we'll copy this in the chat. And then we'll open the breakout rooms. And the rooms are open. For those of you who have been live streaming, thank you so much. Hi everyone, welcome back. So does anyone have any, first of all, I'm curious, how did that go? How was your discussions? And does anyone have any insights that they would like to share? Of course, don't share what your partner shared, but something you found meaningful or for yourself. Yeah, Nancy.
Well, I didn't want to share this at the beginning, but the other day I just learned of a new term. Maybe some of you have heard it, about a negative Nancy. And that's me. And I'm like Christo's mom. I bought a new car. My husband bought a new car. I wanted to buy a new house about 2 months ago. I wanted to buy this. I wanted to buy that. I'm never happy. I'm never happy with what I have because it always could be better. If I bought this beautiful house I saw, would that have been the right one? Probably not, because there's another better one. And so hearing this, and everybody's in what I came away with in this group, that I could just burst down into tears and gratitude. It's don't focus on what I have or what I need. And that's what I focus on, because I have way, way, way too much. I have a gorgeous house. I have a beautiful view. I have 3 cars. I mean, I have all the love and the friends I need. I have everything I need. What I don't have is that split mind shift to notice the minutia and the beauty and everything around me that I don't take for granted. I take everything else I have that I don't even need because I have an abundance of it. But I need to be grateful and shift my mind to all that stuff that that I don't take for granted, that I need to embrace into my life. And that was just like such a mind-blowing thing that was told to me and shared by my friends.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nancy. I'm really moved. And I'm so glad that you've had that realization, and what a great opportunity for you now to kind of find some steps to live into that. Yeah. Focus, locus, change my focus. All right, there we go. Thank you, Sarah. Christo. And then Carrie.
Well, Ron reminded me of something so important. I'll let him share it if he wants to, but he reminded me of a good friend of mine, and I've told you about him in the past, Mr. Greg, my ex Caleb. And for the past 2 weeks, I've struggled to come up with a closing statement for my sermon that I'm giving tomorrow in my shul for Shabbat services, and I finally have it. Here's what I'll end it with. I've never had nearly everything that I've wanted. But looking back, I just realized I've always had more than I've ever needed. Time to stop the kvetching.
Wow. Thank you, Christo. Barry.
You're already,
Okay. I used to be, when I first started the gratitude journal, was the big stuff, for my family, my house, blah, blah, blah. And over the years, I've tried to be more specific and be very mindful of what I am grateful for. And I have a plant next to my bed, a hibiscus that blooms every couple of days now or every week. And that fills me with such great joy when I see the flower. So that I start the day very, very grateful for nature and for seeing the flower, being able to see it. And that's the kind of stuff that I look for now, that those little things that really make
Yeah,
life. Yeah, thank you.
life is lived in the little things,
Mm.
you know, and the more that we can sort of remember them. And something else, and at the end I'll share a link to Brene Brown's book. I get no, like, you know, royalties or anything, but it's such a big influence on me. But she said, you know, when she's worked with people who are in grief, and it's like the things that they miss the most are like little things. It's like, oh, to see my husband sitting at the table, you know, yelling at the sports team and the newspaper just one more time. You know,
Mm,
those are the things, you know, that really, really matter to us, which are easy to kind of get lost, for those to get lost in the shuffle. So I'm going to put the book in the chat so I don't forget.
I'm gonna get it
And
on.
we'll
E-book.
do our closing meditation. So yeah, it's been out a while. You know, I'm sure you could get it at a library and other places too. So please, once again, relax in your seat. Take in a deep, leisurely inhale and a slow, leisurely exhale. Let's just focus on that light that is filtering through our eyelids. It's the light of our divine spark. And as that energy, warmth, and love comes in, listen for that small voice that says, "You are enough." And allow yourself to experience that thought that I am enough, that I have enough. With each of us, we are enough. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes.